Hi, I'm Renee, and welcome to Classical Commentary, talking all matters music and about the music that matters. Described as the greatest French pianist of his generation, award-winning pianist Jean-Efflam Bavouzet enjoys a prolific recording and international concert career. Jean-Efflam Bavouzet combines a rare elegance and clarity in his playing along with deep and thoughtful musicality, for which he continues to win the highest acclaim from both critics and audiences. Bavouzet has concertized throughout Europe, the UK, USA, and Asia, and his earlier recordings have earned him multiple prizes, including 2 Gramophone Awards, 2 BBC Music Magazine Awards, a Diapason d'Or, and Choc de l'Année. You're watching Classical Commentary. I'm Renee, and we're here with one of the best French pianists of this generation, Mr. Jean-Efflam Bavouzet. Monsieur Bavouzet, bienvenue à Toronto. Welcome to Toronto.
My pleasure.
To our program today. This is not your first visit to Toronto.
No, actually it's my fourth.
Oh.
The 2 first were with some touring orchestra, Orchestre National de France and London Philharmonic. And then I had a great pleasure to play the first time with the Toronto Symphony, the Great Concerto with Sir Andrew Davis. And now again with this wonderful, wonderful orchestra.
So you have embarked on a recording project of the Mozart concertos, which has led up to this performance of the Mozart Ninth Piano Concerto. How did this all come about?
Well, it's a wonderful story. First, I was rather close to the Manchester Camerata because we have based in Manchester because of an extraordinary musician that I totally fell in love with, and I said, I want this man in my life. And this man is Gábor Takács. As you know, I'm very attached to Hungary and Hungarian musicians in general, my wife being a wonderful Hungarian pianist, and our 2 daughters speak fluent Hungarian. Anyway, I really met wonderful Hungarian musicians, and this one, I mean, so we just click. And so I said, let's record Haydn concertos together. And we did this CD, which we are very proud of, because Haydn can be taken as almost as a, take for granted music that goes rather smoothly, and can be in a way a little boring if you don't add what is the core of this music. It's wonderful music, but you need to dig in to take every possibility that everything speaks and has sparkles. As you know, Haydn is the master of the surprise in music, and so he's an extremely intelligent composer. Anyway, we worked a lot on the ornamentation and on the phrasing, and of course Gábor Takács, being the founder of the Takács string quartet, he knows all these articulations so well. Well, anyway, we have done, I think, really a very, very nice CD. And so we said, let's continue. So we started with 1 CD with 2 piano concertos. One of which I really have special affection with is number 17 in G major, for which I wrote some little jazzy cadences. And so let's start with that. And we did that. And after that, we realized that in that year, 1784, Mozart wrote 6 piano concertos. So let's record the 4th other. So we did a series, and here we are with a 3 volume. Now, how can we continue? And so Manchester Camerata came with this crazy idea of proposing me to record all of them. And I must tell you that at first, I mean, we speak about 27 concertos here, right? And at first, because I was already recording the Haydn complete sonatas, I had plans to record the Beethoven concertos also. I said, wow, that's really wonderful. And then I realized, when will be the next time an offer like this arrives? And isn't it the most interesting way to spend your life studying this music, which is so mind-bogglingly beautiful and so well done, so well written, and so many of them. And I said, okay, let's go. And so we started, and now we are at volume 5 will come out in a couple of months.
Okay.
2 CDs, so
Looking
4
forward.
concertos. And so we have four more to go. We should finish in about 2023 to 24, something like that. Yes.
Very exciting.
Yeah, I mean, it's wonderful. It's one of these kind of meeting, because where everything works so well. This is a smaller ensemble. Yesterday we played, with the TSO, which was fantastically articulated, but rather substantial musician, like 8 first violin. And so now it's so reduced to less size, 6. So it's a small ensemble, 6 and 4 and 2 basses and 4 cellos.
Much more intimate.
In a way, yes. And so it creates another synergy, another energy, yes. So, wonderful musician who knows this repertoire so well, Bernard Labadie, and we just did 2 performances of the Mozart concerto called Jeune Ami. Jeune Ami. Please do not call Jeune Homme anymore. This is a new discovery. Some musicologists spent years and years to search who was actually the real name of this lady. And her name is Victoire Jeune Ami. So we have to ban this bad habit of calling it Jeune Homme. It's Jeune Ami.
Wow, I had no idea. Thank you for enlightening us.
I didn't know also since a few months ago, so don't worry.
I've noticed that for Chandos Records, you have recorded many sets of works.
Complete, you mean?
Complete
yes.
sets of, you've done the Beethoven cycle of sonatas, Haydn.
Yes.
Do you enjoy working in a complete sense, or is it more of a mission or a project?
Funny enough, I see. Funny enough, about 20 years ago, I was like, to record the complete. What's the use? You better concentrate on the piece really that speaks to you. And I completely changed my mind. I completely changed my mind because what I think very interesting is exactly the opposite. When you cover everything and you dig in each piece for recording, I mean, not just sight reading for your own pleasure at home, but you dig in and you try to take the core of each piece. Therefore, you have suddenly an eagle view of the entire set of things. You have an eagle, like the bird. So you see not only the relation between each note of a phrase, this phrase in the movement in the piece, the piece among all the other pieces.
You can make the correlation.
And you find connections and you see, and I adore that. Yes, yes, very much so.
Fantastic. Speaking of recordings, you have a very impressive discography. You record exclusively for Chandos Records, and you have recorded everything from the classical styles, Haydn and Mozart, to more contemporary, the Stravinsky, Ives, Janacek, I believe.
Yes. Bartók, Prokofiev.
You've pretty much done it all, as well as some of the more obscure French works, such as Gabriel Pierny, Maurice Ohana.
Maurice Ohana, the CD is wonderful music, but it was not for Chandos, it was previously. But yes, true enough. I feel blessed to have that. Chandos is almost giving me a carte blanche since 10 years. And we started with a complete set of Debussy piano music, which was a perfect timing for me because I was completely under the Debussy stick, like it's an illness when you are obsessed with one music, and I could not hear any notes of Debussy without having tears in my eyes. It completely overwhelmed with the beauty of the music of Debussy, and so I still love and admire. But this moment, it was about 2 years or 3 years of my life. This I don't want to say sparkles because I still have the sparkles, but this incredibly love and passion. Felt a little bit over the years. I mean, in favor of others, of course, you cannot be so connected with one composer for a long time because that was really incredibly strong for me. And so we recorded the complete Debussy at that time. And then, of course, some of the dear project I really wanted to do, the Bartok concertos we did with BBC Phil and Noceda, the Ravel concertos with the BBC Symphony and Yann-Pascal Tortelier, the Prokofiev concertos again with Noceda and BBC Phil, and many others. Yes, I can imagine musicians sometimes being a little, let's say, not frozen, but a little restrained by the fact that they play for microphone, and then there is not the adrenaline you get when you play for an audience, and which is, of course,
more spontaneous.
Yes, like Pierre Boulez told me, every concert is a miracle, because anything can happen in the concert. Absolutely anything. The worst, like the best. It's open, and it's one shot, and it's a communion with audience. There is no good concert if the audience is not attentive, connected to the music,
engaged.
If the performer is not therefore inspired by the attention he can feel from the audience, and if the music is not great, there is a kind of mysterious combination of a miracle here. Now, of course, the situation in a studio is completely different. But I belong to the category of musicians who adore to record.
Okay.
I was sitting and had a very lovely conversation with a pianist you may have heard of here, Glenn Gould, on the bench. And I told him how much I totally agree with him about the fact that recording is a completely different world. It can be easily compared, if I was an actor, to the work I do for the theater and for the work I do for a movie. Because, of course, in a theater, like in a concert, it's one thing. And in a movie, you repeat the scene hundreds, you can repeat as long as the regisseur is not happy. And after that,
to reach the desired result.
And after that, there is all the editing process, which is also fascinating, because as long as you cut one time, there is not too much difference between cutting one time and cutting 300 times. I'm now exaggerating in purpose, but what I want to amend by that is, as long as you cut one time, therefore you cut a kind of flow. Very good. But you have to recreate this flow in a way artificially. But at the end, your aim is that you hear this recording as if it was one take.
Just one take.
And that takes a lot of subtlety, of nuance. And what are you searching for is the ultimate beauty, or at least the beauty you see in front of you at that particular moment. What is very interesting, especially in the case of music of Beethoven, is that this music is so rich, and you approach it so differently during your lifetime, that you may record Beethoven at one point and you think, this is my view. And with age, with experience, with the fact that you develop as a person, as a human being, and as a musician, you see other things.
Right.
And you want to bring out other aspects of the music. Therefore, I really totally understand the fact that you want to record. I'm not at that stage, though, although I just recorded the old Beethoven sonatas, and now the Beethoven concertos are also coming out.
Fantastic.
But anyway, I really, really like the recording process from A to Z. Meaning from the choice of repertoire to the cover.
Right.
Yes.
2020, it's a big year for Beethoven
Yes.
and his repertoire, because it's the 250th anniversary of his birth.
Yes.
What projects do you have in store for this year, if any?
Okay, so recording-wise, we said the complete set of the Beethoven concertos that I done in a special way for me, very special, was to record without conductor from the keyboard.
Oh.
It is something I really love to do.
This is not the first experience?
Well, it's not my first. It's my first experience in a recording situation. There are things you gain, and of course things you lose in a way. Definitely, let's speak about what you gain. You gain the fact that the musicians around you have much more responsibility. They don't have somebody to rely on to which the conductor is. So they are much more seated, let's say, on the edge of their seat. They take more initiative.
They're more sensitive. They have to listen.
In
more
a way,
carefully.
you add a real conversation. Real conversation. It can happen. Don't get me wrong. It can also happen with the conductor, of course, like yesterday. I hope everybody enjoyed it as much as I did. The conversation with the orchestra and so on. But true enough that because you have direct eyes contact with the musicians. When you play with a conductor, you are more or less facing either the cello or the alto, depending, or the second violin, and then you have all the musicians there. But when you are without conductor, you have all the musicians around you. The lead is out, so you have eyes contact with all of them. And they are much closer to the piano. They hear the piano sound much more. So it's real chamber music in a way.
Of course.
It cannot apply to, of course, anything. So the Bartok concertos would be just impossible without conductor. That's very clear. But Haydn, Mozart, and Beethoven. So I've done that with the great ensemble of Swedish chamber orchestra in Sweden. And so that's one. And the second is the Beethoven connection we have.
Your international career gives you a lot of opportunities to travel. Is there any particular destination that stands out in your mind to you as being either extraordinary?
Yes, there are so many. It's unfair. I don't know if I should start by naming any cities because I will certainly, as soon as the interview will be finished, I feel, I forgot to speak about. Actually, I'm rather a big fan of trains in general, trains, but model trains in particular. I'm so happy about the view we have from the room we have on the 17th floor now, because I can see the trains coming out and also the turntable. So, of course, Sao Paulo is a dream for a train aficionados as I am, because the hall itself is a train station. Yes, so and it's transformed in a wonderful OCESP, it's called in Sao Paulo, wonderful concert hall. But there are so many. Of course, the Concertgebouw is incredible to hear. On stage, it's a little problematic sometimes because the piano is probably the worst placed. But it sounds amazingly beautiful. Wingmore Hall for piano is just a dream in London. The Berlin Philharmonic is also a miracle of acoustic. There are other halls, like also in Poland, you have some great halls. In China, you have wonderful halls these days. And so, no, every destination is
unique in its own way.
Yes, of course, because people, it's such a great luck that we have musicians now to be able to share the beauty we have in hands.
You were a pupil of Pierre Sancan. What influence did he have on you?
I'm very happy you asked. Thank you for asking. That's very kind of you, because I really like to speak about my dear mentor. Every musician has in life a kind of point of non-return. When suddenly you apprehend your contacts and you can really say, yes, I want to be a musician. Yes, I want to be a pianist. In my case, I had clearly two. One was with Pierre Sancan at the conservatory, and the other one was with a Hungarian pianist and Zoltán Kocsis.
Oh, yes.
And so Pierre Sancan, first of all, in the 60s, was very active, probably one of the most active musicians of his generation as a composer, as a conductor, and as a performing pianist. He was Grand Prix Drum of composition, that says a lot. So he was not a composer, a pianist who composed on Sunday afternoon, just for fun. He had a real métier, composed some wonderful pieces for orchestra, piano, and his sonatine for flute.
Piano sonatine.
Every flutist in the world, every orchestra I go to the flutist and I say, do you know the sonatine of Pierre Sancan? And everybody knows that piece. It's a beautiful, beautiful piece. And of course, Sancan had a major role in the development of the so-called French school, because he almost I don't want to say destroyed the French school, but he made it exploded by the fact that only his student, and that goes back to the 60s, where the French pianists, where I'm referring to Jean-Philippe Collard, Jean-Bernard Pommier, Michel Béroff, were the very first French pianist able to master the concerto of Rachmaninoff, of Bartók, and of Prokofiev. So he was looking to piano playing as a whole, and not only looking how the fingers move, the wrist, and eventually here, which was so-called jeu perlé, which is wonderful, but you have no power with that. You have no endurance with that. So Sancan really studied the Russian school, which is so great for this, and introduced that to his teaching. But so that's the technical part. Now, the musical part was fascinating because he was also one of the very first to introduce the fact that this black box is actually the reduction of an orchestra. So he would say, bring out the cello. The first time he told me that, I thought that was a joke. And then I realized, of course, that's a piece, that's a place, and the line was at the bass, and that it was not the bass, it was the middle one. So it was, if the piece I was playing, I don't remember which piece, would have been orchestrated, that would have been played by the cello.
So he helped you to open your ears.
Exactly, so and to consider...
To think more orchestrally.
Exactly, to take the piano as a reduction of an orchestra piece. And that came because of his training of orchestrating so well.
Right.
And the third thing, which is even probably the most important, he was one of the very few of his generation to be totally wide open about new styles, including jazz, which I was a great fan already in my youth, and played a little bit. But in that time, we speak about early 80s, late 70s, you would play jazz in the Paris Conservatory, and the teacher next door would open the door or something. What are you doing here? What's that? Can you stop? My teacher before even said, Jean-Efflam, don't play jazz. You put dirt in your soul. I quit. I changed teacher almost very soon after that. It's interesting to imagine this because now in every great school of music, you have a jazz section. Thank God. But at that time, no. And Sancan was totally open. Actually, some of the greatest memory I have of his lessons where you have two pianos on each class, and probably the student before me didn't come, or he was early anyway, or I was early. I entered the door, and he was himself improvising on one piano, and with his beautiful face, show me with his nose. The second piano said, take, and we start the lesson by a two piano improvisation. I mean, It was actually so creative and so spontaneous.
Sure.
He was really a grand maître. I cherish him tremendously, and we are going to make a recording of his music.
Oh, fantastic.
Yes, with my dear friend Yann-Pascal Tortelier, who knew him. Also, so that we are really absolutely connected. And the BBC film, we are going to record his piano concerto, the flute sonatine with a wonderful English flutist, Adam Walker, the solist of the LSO, and some piano pieces and some orchestra pieces. So like a Sancan portrait.
Fantastic. Et Monsieur Bavouzet, enchanté.
Mon plaisir.
C'était un plaisir. I wish we had more time, but we're out of time. Thank you so much for joining us today on Classical Commentary, and wishing you all the best going forward.
Thank you, René. Thank you.
Thanks so much for watching this edition of Classical Commentary. We'll see you next time, and remember, great music makes a great day. See you.